The courtroom was quiet, but the quiet wasn't serene. It was the sort of quiet that gets your stomach all knotted up. The sort of quiet that charges a room with tension, so heavy you can practically reach out and touch it. In the midst of it all sat Meri Brown, her face serene, near impossible to read, except for her eyes. Behind those eyes was a secret that had been kept for decades. And now, in the cold glare of courtroom lights, that secret was on the verge of spilling out into the open. The world had watched Meri for more than a decade as one of Kody Brown's wives. The audience had seen her smile when duty required, remain mum when the hurt became too much, and recede into the shadows as Kody's focus turned to Robyn. To most of the viewers, Meri was the faithful wife who clung for much too long. But what if there was more? What if, on those sleepless nights when the cameras were not rolling, Meri was not as lonely as everyone assumed? This is the one TLC did not show. It's the tale of whispers behind closed doors, hidden messages that held more power than anybody realized, and a love that was brave enough to flower in the cracks of a dying marriage. It's about Meri, the wife who remained, the woman who battled to be noticed, and the choices that lay hidden, capable of transforming everything we thought we understood about her. What if Meri wasn't waiting around for Kody's love? What if she had already discovered it elsewhere? We don't begin the story with conflict, but with isolation. Imagine it, Meri alone in her empty house, the walls weighed down by reminders of a family that was complete once. The giggles of childhood have become distant memories, the relationships among the wives stretched thin as rubber, and Kody's presence a ghost, present in name but not in spirit. Night after night, she paces in the silence, phone stuck to her face, scrolling for hours. Sometimes it's work emails, sometimes it's Facebook. But on the occasional night, it's something more, something intimate. Loneliness is intolerable, but it's dangerous too, because loneliness has a tendency to open doors you never thought you'd ever step through. And here's where everything starts to turn. Don't move from this seat, because what's going to unfold will have you doubting everything you believed you knew about Sister Wives. At first, it was small talk, harmless. A message from a friend of a friend, a business contact that lingered in conversation slightly longer than needed. Meri, hungry for affirmation, found herself answering, smiling at words on a screen that conveyed a warmth she had not experienced in years. The messages became more regular, the conversations more intimate. And suddenly she was no longer just Meri the sister wife anymore. She was Meri the woman being noticed. But secrets are burdens, and this one, if exposed, would rattle the Brown family to its foundations. Picture the risk. Kody, ego already fragile, learning that Meri had found companionship outside. Robyn, the so-called favorite, seeing her hold on Kody grow as she whispers venom in his ear. Christine and Janelle, perhaps knowing more than they reveal, but not daring to tell the truth. And the children, caught between loyalty and the immovable desire to protect their mother's happiness. This wasn't the narrative TLC presented us. This wasn't the meek, subservient Meri we were supposed to believe existed. This was Meri taking matters into her own hands and rewriting her own narrative. And as you listen to this happen, ask yourself this: what would you do if you were her? Would you remain silent, or would you take the risk to be heard? The courtroom itself is symbolic. It's not only representative of the legal disputes that these families have endured throughout the years, but of the trial of the heart, the public's judgment, the constant questioning of loyalty, and the unofficial rules of love and betrayal. When Meri stands in that courtroom, she's not only being asked questions of faithfulness, she's being judged on whether she should be allowed to be free, happy, and choose a life outside of Kody. The gavel has not fallen yet. The secrets have not all been told, but the tension is already coiled, and once it's released, there will be no turning back. Because here's the thing, secrets don't remain secret forever. And this secret, it's bigger than anyone can even begin to imagine. The more the whispers get louder, the more the stakes grow higher. Each look, each hushed testimony, each accusation is laced with years of silence, and in the middle of it all is Meri, finally understanding that sometimes, the most frightening thing you can do is choose yourself. This is not just a story about sister wives. It's a story about love, betrayal, and the cost of breaking free. It's about what happens when the person you've always underestimated becomes the one who holds the most powerful secret of all. And now, I want you to think hard. If you were in Meri's position, Would you own up to it all on the world stage? Or would you take the secret to your deathbed, defending your peace, but losing your truth? Leave your answer in the comments. I'll be monitoring closely to see how many of you believe that Meri should have gone before the world and risked it all. Because as this story continues, you'll see, sometimes the secrets that stay in the shadows are the ones that burn the brightest once exposed. Meri Brown sits alone in her living room. The walls are quiet, filled with shadows that stretch long in the evening light. There's no hum of family chatter anymore. No children running through the hallways. The home that once bore the burden of common aspirations now feels empty, hollow like a theater after the crowd has departed. She drapes a blanket over her shoulders, gazing at her phone, scrolling with nowhere in mind. The screen's light is the only illumination she permits on her face. To the world outside, Meri remains part of the Sister Wives family. She smiles in front of the camera when questioned. She nods obediently when Kody talks, and she does the job the fans have anticipated for more than a decade. But the cameras never capture the silence. After the cameras stop rolling, they never capture the look she gives the door, watching for someone who does not arrive. Kody's presence in her life is now reduced to mere obligation. The passion is lost, the intimacy lost. Years ago, she recalls when he'd hold her hand, laugh with her, and vow that she was his first and always. But those memories are now faded pictures, once vibrant, now washed away by abandonment. And it's in these empty hours, when no one is watching, that Meri's story truly begins. She scrolls through smiling faces on social media, other couples, other families' faces that smile with a radiance she hasn't experienced in years. Each photo is a reminder of what she's lost, what she never even had. There's bitterness that claws its way into her chest, a voice that reminds her she's worthy of more, though she's too terrified to trust it. The isolation is intolerable. She throws herself into her business, her online enterprises, her friendships. She stuffs goodness into Instagram captions and quotes regarding resilience. But when the phone is hung up, when the camera is not positioned precisely enough, Meri remains alone. And then one evening, there's a message. It's harmless enough, a friend checking in, someone who knows her from work. She reads it twice, then 3 times, and feels an uncomfortable jolt in the words. They are not romantic, not yet, but they hold something she hasn't experienced in years. Attention, she responds, hardly thinking. A handful of words to start. Relaxed, courteous. But the discussion quickly expands beyond work, drifting into late-night conversations that go well past their length. Laughter percolates over her phone, something she hasn't heard aimed in her direction in much too long. For the first time in years, someone is listening like they care. Secrets don't necessarily come with thunder. Occasionally they sneak in on whispers, soft enough to be dismissed, until they grow and won't depart. With the passing days, Meri waits for those messages. She is checking her phone more frequently, her heart skipping a beat when the alert comes through. She tries hiding her smile when Kody is near, but he barely even registers. Their talk is hollow, dealing only in logistics for family get-togethers and real estate. He doesn't notice the sparkle in her eyes when she steps out into another room to answer a call. The odd part is, she doesn't feel guilty, yet, to her, it's not betrayal. It's survival. It's finally being seen in a world where she's been invisible for too long. But she is also aware on a deeper level that this road is risky. One misstep, one thoughtless utterance, and it would all fall apart. The fans, the public, the kids, Kody, everybody would have their say. And if this revelation ever got into the court of public opinion, it would be more devastating than any catfishing ever was. She stands in front of the mirror late at night. The woman in the mirror is exhausted, yet not vanquished. There's a spark for the first time in years, an ember of defiance that will not be extinguished. She speaks softly to herself. I deserve this. I deserve to be happy. And there, right then, the tale begins its initial perilous turn. Because once you begin to think you deserve more, you'll do anything to get it. But danger isn't imminent. For the time being, it's texts, calls, and little smiles. And yet there's a difference in Meri. She holds herself differently. She lingers slightly longer at her makeup, her outfits selected with a bit more attention. Robyn catches on, even if she doesn't comment. Christine, removed but still attuned, catches the flash of change. Janelle picks up on something too, although she doesn't remark on it. Kody, however, is clueless. Or perhaps he just doesn't care. He views Meri as the wife who lingered too long, as the one who holds on to a relationship he abandoned long ago. He doesn't inquire why she smiles when she looks at her phone, why she slips out late at night. In his head, Meri is no longer anything to him. But secrets grow in silence, and this one is growing faster than Meri realizes. One evening, she receives a message that makes her pause. It's simple, but it carries a weight that tightens her chest. I want to see you. Her breath hitches. She gazes at the words, her hands shaking over the screen. For weeks they've tiptoed around this moment, behind innocuous chatter and guarded talk. But now, the offer's out in the open. This isn't companionship anymore. This is the edge of something much more perilous. And once Meri steps across it, there's no turning back. She pauses, conflicted between desire and trepidation. She is aware of the danger. Aware of the censure that would so swiftly come crashing down, should the truth ever be revealed. But she is also aware of what it is like to be unseen, and she's experienced firsthand what it's like to be heard. So she types out her response, carefully, slowly, her heart racing with each keystroke. Okay. When she clicks send, her universe changes. It's no longer about breaking the silence. It's about pursuing something real, something alive. And whether she likes it or not, Meri has just set foot into a secret that could ruin it all. That evening, she does not sleep. She lies in bed, eyes fixed on the ceiling, her brain whirling with what ifs. The courtroom exists not yet, not in her reality. But one day, someone will insist on answers. One day, she will stand before judgment, not only of Kody, but of everyone who has ever seen her tale play out. And on that day, the question will not be if she loved, it will be if she dared. Meri sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly, her knuckles turned white. Her phone buzzed in the cup holder. A simple message lit up the screen. I'm here. She caught a glimpse of herself in the backseat mirror, noticing the anxious tilt of her mouth. It had been years since she'd experienced this level of expectation. Her heart was not racing, it was thudding, like a drum beat pounding inside of her. Every fiber of her being cried out that this was risky, irresponsible, but beneath the fear was something more powerful, longing. Meri breathed in deeply, opened the door and stepped outside. Evening air was cool, with the subtle aroma of pine from Arizona hills. She saw him by the cafe's side door, leaning against the wall, smiling slightly to himself, his coat cinched in against the cold. He wasn't what the world would have wanted, not a sleek film star, not a glamorous flight, but genuine, plain, down to earth. And yet, as his eyes locked onto hers, there was a heat that had her feeling as though she'd stepped into sunlight after decades of winter. Hi, he whispered, her response caught in the back of her throat. Before she could get out a soft hi, that one word shared between them was heavy with years of silence. They sneaked into the cafe, finding a secluded corner where the lights were low, and the murmur of chatter provided them with an aura of secrecy. Initially, they conversed like acquaintances, reserved subjects, smiles hiding laughter. But before long, the words spilled out in torrents, as if they had been waiting to spill these words forever. Meri caught herself explaining things she had never had the courage to say to anyone. Not to her sisters, not to her closest friends, never to Kody. She talked of the hollowness, the years of seeing her life grow smaller and smaller until shadows, of how her own identity had been consumed by a plural marriage that no longer cared for her. He listened, really listened, not with half an ear or distracted glances, but with full attention, his eyes steady, his expression soft. You've carried this alone for so long, he said finally, his voice low, almost reverent. The words hit her like a wave. Her throat tightened, tears threatening to spill. She nodded, unable to speak. And at that instant, Meri saw it wasn't merely a conversation. It was the start of something she had been hungry for: connection. The cafe dwindled around them. The clink of cups and the laughter of strangers receded into the distance. Time warped, stretched and folded in upon itself, leaving only the two of them trapped in their bubble. Hours slipped by without awareness, until she looked at her phone and realized how late it was. I should leave, she breathed unwillingly. Yeah, he told her, though his eyes revealed the same reluctance she saw. As they stepped out into the evening, there was a silence between them. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was charged. He escorted her to her car, standing back just a moment too long. She lifted the door, her heart pounding, and before she could change her mind, he took her hand. His touch was light, polite, but it ignited through her blood. She didn't withdraw. "Good night, Meri," he said. "Good night," she said, her voice gentle, but shaking. As she pulled away, her mind reeled. She was no longer just Meri, the overlooked wife. For the first time in years, she felt alive. And with life is danger. And this secret was no longer within her power to keep. The subsequent days were both thrilling and frightening. Messages became calls. Calls became meetings, each drawing her closer into a life she both desired and dreaded. She found herself stealing moments on set, concealing smiles when her phone vibrated. Janelle noticed the subtle changes, the sparkle in Meri's eyes, the way she excused herself more often. Christine, ever intuitive, began to suspect there was more happening beneath the surface. Robyn, however, watched with suspicion, her gaze sharp, calculating. One evening after filming, Robyn pulled Meri aside. "You've seemed different lately," Robyn said carefully, her tone dipped in false concern. "Is everything okay?" Meri smiled tightly, shaking her head. "Just busy, you know, with the businesses." But Robyn didn't believe her. Her eyes lingered on Meri, as though she could strip away the layers of her secret. And then there was Kody. He was blind to it, his focus consumed by Robyn and his anger at the other wives. But his blindness didn't make Meri safe. It made her dangerous. If he wasn't looking, perhaps she might be able to slide further into this new realm without being caught. But secrets weigh a person down, and the cracks start to spread. That night, as Meri sat at her kitchen table, phone against her ear, she saw herself reflected in the window. The woman standing there wasn't the same one who had sat quiet weeks before. She was braver now, more vibrant, but more scared too. Her friend's voice flowed through the phone, soothing, comforting. "I don't want to have to hide this anymore," he whispered. Her heart writhed. She wanted that more than anything. But the danger hung over her like a cloud. If this ever went public, not only to Kody, but to the world, the consequences would be disastrous. "I know," she breathed. "But today this is all we have." There was a silence on the other end, and with that silence a word left unsaid. This couldn't remain a secret forever. And that's when Meri realized the clock had begun ticking. Secrets have a way of surfacing. The question is always when. The next week, the family convened for an awkward gathering at Robyn's home. The atmosphere was tense with unexpressed resentments, the kind that had been simmering for years. While Kody preached about harmony and loyalty, Meri sat in silence, her thoughts elsewhere. Her phone vibrated in her lap. She looked down, heart racing. A lone message danced on the screen. "I need to see you tonight." Her breath snagged. She jerked a quick look up, praying no one saw. Christine's eyes darted toward her, hard and questioning. Robyn's narrowed. Kody continued talking, unaware. Meri's heart pounded as she pocketed her phone again. Tonight, it was decided before she even exited the room. That night, she drove once more into darkness, her hands shaking on the steering wheel. With every mile, she was drawing closer not only to him, but to a decision that could not be undone. When she saw him waiting, this time, not in a cafe, but in the still darkness of a park, her terror dissolved into something else, something treacherous. "Meri," he said, moving toward her. And this time, when his fingers closed over hers, she did not pull away. Because when a secret turns into a touch, it's no longer simply concealed. It's alive. Cliffhanger conclusion to Section 2. Meri is past words. Her secret romance has become physical, irrefutable. The tension is greater than ever, and detection is imminent. The air at night was thick, the sort that gripped skin and held secrets. Meri stood with his back against the park bench, his hands still clasped around hers. This was no longer the cafe, with its manners-walled room and soft lights. This was something else. This was liberty. She felt the earth tilt under her life. For years her world had been a script: marriage, family, cameras, the endless acting of happiness. But now with one touch, she'd walked off the stage and into real life. And yet, she knew, the real world has repercussions. "Are you sure about this?" he asked quietly, studying her face. Her response was immediate. "I've never been more sure about anything." Their words did not require explanation. They both knew this was irresponsible, that one misstep could ruin everything. But in this moment, beneath the weak light of the street lamp, they did not care. They moved in closer, and their world vanished. His lips grazed hers, gentle initially, tentative, like a secret feeling the atmosphere. Then deeper, hungry, as though both had been starving for decades and had found nourishment. That kiss was not affection. It was rebellion. It was Meri finally choosing herself. Weeks became weeks, and the clandestine romance grew stronger. Their appointments became a lifeline for her. Early mornings, late nights, short drives to the outskirts of town, where no cameras pursued. She laughed more now. Actually laughed, the type that welled up from her chest, rather than the manufactured giggles she provided on set. But it's more difficult to conceal happiness than to conceal grief. Others catch on when a woman finds her spark again. Christine was the first to pick up on it. They were in the kitchen one day, making snacks for the children. Meri whistled to herself while she chopped apples, her smile lingering even after she turned her back. Christine raised her eyebrows. "You look different." Meri shrugged, attempting to play it cool. "Just taking care of myself. You know, self-care." Christine looked at her for a very long time before she turned back toward the counter. "Self-care suits you." The sentiment was benevolent, but the underlying tone was cutting. Christine was not accepting the apology. Secrets may begin in silence, but they always generate noise. The family dinners became a battlefield of unspoken truths. Janelle, pragmatic as always, kept her distance, but she was observant. Robyn, on the other hand, seemed restless whenever Meri entered the room. Her eyes darted to Meri's phone when it buzzed. Her lips tightened whenever Meri excused herself from the table. And Kody? He remained oblivious. His attention revolved around Robyn, his frustrations with Christine, his endless speeches about family unity. He didn't see the glow in Meri's eyes, the way she slipped out for long drives, the way her silence had changed from defeat to defiance. But oblivion doesn't last forever. One night, Meri sat curled on the couch, her phone in hand. His voice filled her ears, warm and steady. "I wish you were here," he whispered. Her heart hurt with the same wish. "Me too. Perhaps someday we won't need to hide." She closed her eyes, picturing it, a world without whispers, without sneaking around, without cameras capturing every look, just them. But then she remembered the backlash, the family shattered, the headlines, the criticism from fans who already deemed her the broken one. "I don't know if that day will ever come," she admitted. There was silence on the other end, but she could hear his breath, steady and patient. "Then we'll make the most of now." And that's exactly what they did. Every secret meeting became a memory carved into her heart. Yet the deeper she fell, the heavier the risk became. One night, she came home later than she normally did. As she entered the house, Robyn stood waiting, arms folded, eyes piercing. "Where were you?" Robyn asked, trying to sound casual. Meri stopped, the vibe scrambling to get out of her throat. "Out. Just needed to be alone." Robyn cocked her head, looking at her like a predator sizing up prey. "Odd. Because I called your phone a while ago, and you didn't pick up." Meri smiled tight. "I turned it off. Needed a break." Robyn didn't answer. She merely nodded slowly, her eyes narrowing into suspicion. From that night on, Meri could sense it. Robyn keeping a closer eye on her, waiting for her to slip. And suspicion once sown, only grows. But still, Meri couldn't help it. The draw was too great. Each sneaky moment brought back what love was supposed to be like. She thought of the early days with Kody, when he smiled upon seeing her, when she was special, chosen. That woman was dead now, long buried under years of abandonment. But here, with this man, she was herself again. She was needed. Their love grew beyond touches and whispers. It grew into plans. "What if we just walked away?" he asked her one evening, his voice laced with desperation. "Every moment you stay, you're hurting. You owe them nothing, and him nothing." Her heart constricted. The idea thrilled her and scared her simultaneously. It's not that simple. Why not? Because she wasn't merely Meri Brown, a woman in love. She was Meri Brown, a celebrity, a member of a family America stared at like a circus. To walk away wasn't merely to leave a marriage, it was to blow up a bomb. She sighed. "If this ever got out, it wouldn't just destroy me. It would destroy everything." He grasped her hand, his thumb tracing over her palm. "Perhaps everything must be destroyed before you can start again." And for the first time, Meri couldn't help but wonder if he was correct. But fate has an ironic habit of hastening choices. That night, driving home from yet another meeting, her phone vibrated. A text from him illuminated the screen. I can't keep doing this behind closed doors. We need to make a decision. Her hands shook on the steering wheel. She wasn't sure she was ready. As she drove into the driveway, Kody stood waiting outside, arms crossed, his expression hard with anger. Where have you been? He demanded. Her blood ran cold. I told you, I was out, she said quickly. Out where? You've been gone for hours. His voice was sharp, louder than usual. The door behind him opened, and Robyn stepped outside, her expression unreadable. Meri's heart pounded. For the first time, she realized she wasn't as invisible as she thought. The walls were closing in, and deep inside she knew the secret she had struggled so desperately to keep was about to burst. Because after that, once a romance tips from clandestine to revealed, it's no longer a secret, it's a scandal. The night was strained, the sort of quiet that doesn't just linger in the air, it bears down on you, making your heart pound harder than you can bear. Meri opened the car door and stepped out, her purse clutched to her side, her mind reeling with the final words he'd sent. We need to decide. She hadn't decided yet. She was still holding on to the tenuous thread of secrecy. But tonight, that thread would break. Because Kody was waiting. He was standing by the front door, arms folded, jaw tight. His eyes weren't the fierce, passionate eyes of the man she used to know. They were cold, hard, like knives poised to slice through any deception. Meri, he replied, low but level in tone. Where were you? Her throat constricted. She'd practiced excuses in her mind 1,000 times, but when she tried to speak, the words caught in her throat. I told you, I just needed space. Kody moved closer, his face inches from her own. Space doesn't answer why you're vanishing for hours. Space doesn't explain the way you smile into your phone. Space doesn't explain why Robyn says, Robyn? Meri interjected, her voice fracturing. And there she was, hunched in the doorway like a shadow that had been listening the whole time. Robyn's face was serene, but her eyes spoke otherwise. Sharp, watchful, judgmental. I'm concerned about you. Robyn spoke gently, even though the gentleness seemed to be an act. We all are. But if there is something, Meri, you must be truthful. Honesty. The term cut through Meri like a knife. Because honesty equaled exposure, and exposure equaled ruin. The fight escalated fast. Kody's voice grew loud, pacing back and forth on the porch like a man losing his grip. After all, after the sacrifices, the hard times, you're sneaking around. Have you any idea what this family would be like if the world knew? Meri's hands trembled, but fury welled up in her belly too. This family? Kody, you left me years ago. You left me alone and went running to Robyn. Don't pretend you care about my life now. She said the words more cutting than she'd intended. But now that she'd said them, she couldn't keep going. You want the truth. The truth is, I'm so sick of being invisible. Sick of being your footnote. As you play husband of the year with Robyn, I met someone who sees me, who actually wants me. Her voice broke on the final words, but they rang out louder than any cry. The silence that ensued was absolute. And in that silence, the secret was no longer a secret. It was a scandal. The repercussions were instant. Christine, already emotionally separated from Kody, was shocked when she learned. Meri, seriously? You actually? She caught herself, her head shaking not with judgment, but with incredulity. I just never thought you'd be the one to do that. Janelle was subdued, practical as always, but her disillusionment was obvious. Do you understand how this will appear? To the children? To the show? To the church? Meri, it isn't all about you anymore. And Robyn? She was both angry and strategic. In the privacy of their own homes, her language was biting. You've risked everything. The reputation of the family, our contracts, the whole future of Sister Wives. Do you have any idea what you've done? But in front of Kody, she thawed. Always the martyr. I just want to help her. I think she's lost and confused. Maybe we should guide her back before this goes too far. It was obvious to everyone. Robyn wasn't just defending the family, she was defending her position in it. The media got wind faster than anyone could have anticipated. A grainy photo appeared online. Meri in her car, a man riding in the passenger seat. The headlines spread like wildfire. Sister Wives scandal. Meri Brown caught in secret affair. Fans lost it. Comment sections erupted with opinion. Some stood up for her, saying she deserved love after years of being ignored. Others judged her, saying she was a hypocrite for violating the vows she had defended on TV. And then the lowest blow. Rumors of contractual breaches. TLC higher-ups started to question. Was the romance fabricated? Was it a breach of their agreement? Would it harm the show's integrity? All of a sudden, this wasn't merely about family honor. It was about money, contracts, and reputation. And that's when the courtroom came into play. Kody, who wanted to save control, made the first gesture. He consulted with a lawyer, pounding his hand on the desk. She's ruining our reputation, our show, our children's livelihood. This is not merely infidelity, it's legal betrayal. I want to know what I can do to safeguard what belongs. The attorney sat back, serene but intent. If you wish to go about this, you'll require evidence, evidence of wrongdoing. And if TLC is called in, this can spiral quickly. Contracts, custody, money. Are you ready for that? Kody didn't flinch. I'm ready for anything. At the same time, Meri found herself on the other side of the legal divide. She hadn't sought a war. But now the silences of lawyers, contracts, and lawsuits loomed over her. Her confidant, the man she had risked everything for, urged her to stand firm. Don't let him bully you. You deserve happiness. If this goes to court, fight back. Tell the truth about how he treated you. But Meri knew the truth could be just as dangerous as the lies. The family fractured. Filming became a nightmare. Cameras caught the tension, the clipped conversation, the silence that screamed louder than words. Every scene felt like a countdown to detonation. And then the bomb finally dropped. Kody filed legal papers, not divorce papers. Those had already happened years earlier. This was different. This was about damages. He claimed Meri's behavior had put the family's contracts and financial stability at risk. The court case wasn't about love. It was about legacy, power, and money. Meri versus Kody. Love versus loyalty. Freedom versus control. When news hit, headlines erupted once more. Sister Wives shocker. Kody and Meri in court over affair scandal. Brown family implodes. Legal battle could end show forever. Fans take sides as Meri fights back against Kody. Within the courtroom, the air was stifling. Kody sat rigid, his attorney on his right. Robyn stood near, her hand on his arm like the doting wife. Meri walked in alone, head held high but heart racing. She wasn't battling for love anymore. She was battling for dignity. The gavel of the judge came down. The case had started, and this was only the start of the war that would destroy the Brown family. The courtroom was electric, with tension. No cameras were permitted inside, but that didn't deter reporters who filled as many seats as they could. The rest of the world beyond wanted to know. Was this the end of Sister Wives? Was the Brown family irreparably broken? Kody was stern and still, his lawyer whispering in his ear. Robyn, always the shadow at his shoulder, blotted at her eyes as if practicing for sympathy. Across the aisle, Meri appeared calm, but her heart pounded. She was not only fighting for herself, she was fighting for her name, her dignity, and her future. Kody's lawyer went first, his words ringing in the chamber. Your Honor, this isn't a question of adultery. This is about contracts. Mrs. Brown's conduct, her clandestine affair, her failure to protect the family image, put at risk not one man, but a whole family business. We are requesting that this court acknowledge the damages. Meri's stomach twisted. They were characterizing her not as a woman in search of love, but as an asset. Then her attorney stood, even-tempered, unflinching. Your Honor, this case is not about contracts. It is about control. My client was isolated, diminished, and ignored for years. When she sought love and companionship elsewhere, she did not breach a contract. She escaped emotional neglect. She deserves compassion, not punishment. The courtroom buzzed. For the first time, Meri sensed the tide shift in her direction. Christine testified first. Even though she had long since distanced herself from Kody, her words were credible. I won't forgive what Meri did, but I can see it. She was lonely, abandoned. We all witnessed it. If Kody had been more than a name, her husband, perhaps this might not have occurred. Kody's jaw clenched, and then Janelle testified. Level-headed as ever, she took the court by surprise with her candor. This family has always been about appearances. We sold the world a picture of unity, even when cracks were everywhere. I don't believe Meri should be punished for finally wanting something real. Even Robyn, when she was summoned to testify, revealed more than she had meant to. She attempted to present herself as peacemaker, but her own words betrayed her ambition. I wanted to keep the family safe. to save our image. If Meri had put the family first, it would never have come to this. The implication was unmistakable. Robyn regarded herself as the guardian of the family, the real wife, and Meri as dispensable. The courtroom breathed softly. The fissures in Kody's kingdom were evident for all to see. Finally, Meri herself testified. She addressed the judge squarely, but spoke to every single person in the room. For years I fought for my marriage. I fought for our lifestyle. I surrendered everything to a man who ceased giving anything back years and years ago. I don't regret loving him, but I regret losing myself doing it. Yes, I did find someone else, because I was hungry for love, for compassion, for a voice to say, "You're important." That is not an excuse for my actions, but it is a reason, and if the cost of living is having to come into this courtroom, then so be it. I will stand for my truth. Her voice broke, but her shoulders didn't waver. The courtroom went silent. Even Kody couldn't look at her. Days after, the judge came back with a ruling. This court sees no legal basis to grant damages to Mr. Brown. Marriage is about trust, not contracts. And while the court does not approve of dishonesty, it also respects the right of every human being to find love and respect. Case dismissed. Meri let out a breath, tears blurring her vision. It wasn't a legal victory only. It was a moral triumph. Kody stormed out, Robyn following close behind, whispering in his ear. Their empire, built on image, control, and appearances, was shattering. The scandal shook the world of Sister Wives. Viewers were divided down the middle, some outraged, others very sympathetic. TLC made the surprising move, not to cancel the show, but to retool it, highlighting more the wives' independence and less Kody's control. Christine, who had passed on, stood taller in her own life. Janelle started chiseling her way with quiet strength, and Meri, she finally released. The secret affair that had brought so much turmoil didn't work. Maybe it wasn't ever supposed to. But it had given her something much more precious, the strength to pick herself. She exited the courthouse that day with her head held high, the Utah sun on her face. Photographers yelled out questions, cameras flashed, but she smiled all the way. For the first time in years, Meri Brown wasn't defined by Kody. She was defined by herself. Months afterward, Meri unfolded a new chapter in life. She started a women's retreat, a sanctuary where tales of heartbreak, survival, and rebirth could be told. People who had once criticized her now cheered for her resilience. She wasn't the wife struggling for morsels of love anymore. She was Meri, the survivor, the builder, the woman who emerged from the flames burning brighter. And while Kody's world continued to crumble, Meri's only grew brighter. Because sometimes the happy ending isn't finding love with someone else. Sometimes the happy ending is finding love with yourself.